working. Thank you for that. Part of this is also to introduce each other, because part of this prize is partnering. If you'd like to put your contact information in chat, we'd welcome you to do that as well. Okay, like I said, we'll give it just a couple more minutes here. Okay, it's about 2 minutes after, and as folks are coming in, this is a recorded webinar. So for anyone who is running late or is missing the first part, we will be able to share this recording afterwards. I wanted to say thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Kathy Foster. I am an Economic Development Officer here at the Arrowhead Center. We're part of New Mexico State University. We are the Tech Transfer, Intellectual Property, and Economic Development arm of New Mexico State University in Las Cruces. But as a land-grant institution, we work with all 33 counties in New Mexico, as well as regional partners. I'd like to introduce two colleagues today. They'll be joining us as well. Melissa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Tennick. I am a program manager for the NM FAST program, and I assist with a lot of the NM Surge initiatives, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Thank you for being here today.
Great. And then Matthew.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Matthew Sell. I'm currently a graduate student at New Mexico State University, going to get my MBA. And I'm also a graduate assistant helping out at Arrowhead and helping with this ERC project.
Great, thank you. And as I mentioned, this webinar is being recorded. We are here to tell you about the Energizing Rural Communities Prize, and it's a really great opportunity for folks to partner together to try to come up with solutions on clean energy for remote and rural areas. And as part of that, we welcome you to put your contact information in the chat if you'd like to follow up with each other. We do have a presentation scheduled for the first part of this webinar, and then we're leaving about 30 minutes open for questions and answers. We do have Melissa and I and Matthew, we've worked with these awards before, so we're happy to share some of our knowledge. I know we have some of the other power connectors on the line as well. All you power connectors are welcome to stay and participate, and we will go ahead and get started. So this is a very exciting prize. It is funded through the Department of Energy, their Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, and this is really to, have the start of something that would really impact rural and remote communities. As we go through, we'll keep talking about that. Just a real quick rundown. We're going to just talk briefly about the prize background, how this came to be, an application overview. We've had several webinars that do go over the application process. This one is more of a high level look, and we do have an application workshop coming up in May. And so that's when we'll really be able to take you step by step and provide best practices and some tools to really set you up for a winning submission. And then I want to introduce the power connectors and some of the ways they're helping to support this prize. And then lastly, we have a few resources, and then we'll have the question and answer session. This prize, I was looking into how this was coming about, because this is a very significant prize. As you may know, there's a $15 million prize pool. And the Department of Energy, through various offices, we're looking at ways to really help rural and remote communities. So between, requests for information, community meetings, stakeholder engagement, they distilled the information, and what was found throughout that process, that there are barriers, of course, into reaching the rural and remote parts of the country, but specifically, the two largest barriers they identified were the lack of ability to really facilitate meaningful partnerships that could help with some of these solutions, and also securing financing. So the Energizing Rural Communities Prize was born. So like I said, this is a large prize, over $15 million between 2 tracks and 2 phases, really focusing on ways to connect with each other, develop partnerships, facilitate partnerships that could solve some of the energy, issues that are found in rural and remote areas. The other piece is really finding ways to provide access to capital or help with financing with communities that maybe don't have that in place right now. And so just so you know, when we're talking about a rural or remote area, that is a city, town, a municipality, unincorporated areas, and the population has to be under 10,000 residents. That's the federal definition for this award. And so really, as you're thinking about this award, you want to be thinking about a community you could partner with or work with. And it's really important to identify a community, kind of start that relationship, and then think of ways that any of the programming you're proposing could be replicated. This is, at a glance, the important dates that are coming up. For phase 1, there will be, that is a prize award up to $100,000. So we have 60 prizes going to the partner track and 30 prizes going to the finance track, realizing that maybe some more partnering activity is taking place already. So this prize has been open since March 1st. I have seen a few teams have already entered. You can find that on the Hero X page. We'll be talking about that platform as the webinar goes on. Put this in red on your calendar, a Post-it note, wherever you need to. The applications will be due May 24th by 5% Eastern time. So if you're in the mountain time zone like we are, that means 3 o'clock. So just keep that in mind, that you'll want to make sure and make that submission deadline. You can look for winners to be announced in July. And then once the winners are announced, that will open up the phase 2. And phase 2 is open to winners from that phase 1 track. So you're not able to compete in phase 2 unless you are awarded phase 1. So you have the general dates there. Those will be finalized as the prize contest moves on. I'm going to just pause for questions. Is there any question on when applications are due, or anything we've talked about to this point? Okay, and feel free to drop questions in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat as we go through this as well. So the prize goals here, and I just want to really talk about this as a prize and how that is different from maybe some other funding that some of you may have applied for before. We know in federal funding, granting mechanisms, that is quite a process with lots of research, work plans, budgeting, reporting to do. This has a lower barrier of entry to some of the Department of Energy funding. A prize is just that. This is a cash prize, and this is a competition that will be judged. So you still have to do work and show metrics and progress, but it isn't as a heavy lift as it is maybe working in some of these research grants. The prize goals here is really to, take the initial steps or continuing steps that are already taking place to find ways to help partner and provide financing opportunities to rural communities. So even if you don't have an established or really, strong program right now, hopefully with these webinars and the power connectors, you're making the relationships and you can propose it in phase 1. The other thing is the Department of Energy is really trying to make sure that there is clean energy taking place in some of the outlying communities, not just being, really garnered in the larger cities, but that it reaches out. Then this is also a fact-finding mission to see how the DOE and what activity can support replicable solutions to energy technology systems and improvements. And finally, the DOE's Justice 40 priority is a big part of this prize, and that is where 40% of the funding must serve communities that have been historically left out. It has to create an equitable access to energy technologies that maybe have not been in certain communities before. You can find out more information on the DOE Justice priorities within the prize packet and rule book. So it's really to, as a catalyst to get some of this activity started. And this is very exciting. So this is really open to anyone. Now, I will tell you who is not eligible to apply is the federal funded agencies. So anybody that is working in the federal agencies or a national lab, they are not eligible. But as you can see from this list here, the non-federal government entities, and this is something that's very exciting. So looking at the rural communities themselves, they are welcome to apply for this or any type of service that is supporting them in the area. Of course, we have tribal entities that are encouraged to apply, community-based organizations, nonprofits, even for-profits. The rule there is that you have to be based in the United States. Individuals, if you're an entrepreneur, an innovator, a startup company, you're encouraged to apply. And of course, academic institutions, including student groups. So this is a great opportunity for folks who maybe haven't interacted with DOE funding before to dip their toe in. And in fact, you'll see in the prize and guideline book that those who have not applied for Department of Energy funding in the past are highly encouraged to do so. So as we said, there are 2 tracks here. The partner track is really that relationship building and trying to get people together to come up with some solutions. There are great webinars and information in the rule book that really draw this out. I just wanted to elevate some of the examples that have been supplied to us of some possible projects. This is not in any way exhaustive at all. And we've been having some folks interact with the team here at Arrowhead trying to, do some vetting of projects. So we're happy to do that. And I know our power connectors here on the call, they have office hours for you to do that as well. And I'm going to advance here and let Matthew tell you a little bit more about the partner track.
Sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
As for the partner track, what you would actually need to submit is you need to first submit a cover page and then a summary slide just going over what your plan is, and then as well as a 3-minute video pitch. And then you need to have your partnership plan, and then finally have the evidence of commitment that you're actually partnering with a rural community.
Perfect. And this the rules, and we can put the rules up in the chat here, and we'll also send those to you after the recording's ready, and you can find the rules on the HeroX platform. Really does a great job of describing what is needed along with rubrics. And just a little reminder and a teaser that we will be holding an application workshop on May 4th, where we'll really be able to dive into some of the best practices to prepare the submission requirements. I also wanted to point out there have been some amazing webinars that have been recorded to date, and the ones highlighted here, which are links that you can click through in the PDF that we'll send afterwards. The prize administrators, American Made Challenges, they did an awesome job of really diving into the partner track. So you can look at the slides and access the recording through that link. Any questions on the partnering track? Great, and you can, as you think of them, we'll have that question and answer session at the end. The finance track is really a way for financial institutions and other entities to help rural communities find capital that may have been very difficult to secure in the past. And this is especially to finance those clean energy projects. If you have been talking with some of your partners, or if you are an official in a rural community, you understand how tight budgets are and how some of these solutions seem impossible because there's no access to finance them. With the finance track, that is a solution. And it's really a great way for financial institutions of all sorts to interact with the rural communities and the official city planners there. And once again, this is a very, high level list of some of the outcomes that could be part of this prize, but by no means is this exhaustive. This is a really great way to get creative, as long as you are keeping in mind that this needs to be replicated. It just can't be one and done. This is something that would set communities up for sustainable solutions. So Matthew's also going to just tell you briefly what would be required in the finance track submission.
So as for the finance track, it's pretty similar to what's needed in the partnership track. You still need the cover page, the summary slide, and a 3-minute video pitch. What is different is you need a project plan going over what you plan to do, and then a financial statement just going over how you plan to finance this project that you want to try to do.
Great. And once again, the American Made Challenges Prize Administrative Team put together a very detailed webinar that really takes a look at what is required in the finance track. You'll also find great rubrics and guidance and templates for both of these tracks in the prize rule guidelines. We'll also be able to upload that to chat as well.
Awesome, Kathy. And before we jump to the next subject, so there's a few questions in chat. If just answer those really quickly. So for the partner track, can the product be like an EV garbage can, but then introducing it to rural communities?
Yes. Now there is a way to possibly use this as a feasibility type of work, but it needs to directly impact the rural community. So there would have to be a strong letter of commitment in how this would save the rural community resources, especially if there's some energy savings or financial savings. This is designed for new technologies to be brought out, but they're really, $100,000 does not go a very long way. So prototype development may be difficult because you would also have to make sure that your budget includes work that can be done within that short time span, and if it benefits the rural communities. I suggest that to get a little better detail is definitely take advantage of our office hours with the power connectors, and with the services that Arrowhead will be providing with the application workshop, some of those best practices. And we will be hosting office hours as the application comes due. So as we know that this is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to provide solutions, you just have to make sure that this would definitely benefit a community.
Awesome. And then one more quick one. Is New Mexico State or another university available as a partner?
Yes, I would highly encourage you to interact with any academic institutions of higher learning, community colleges. And that is a good question. As a power connector, Arrowhead is not able to partner, but we'll have to see if the actual, departments within New Mexico State are. So I will confirm that and get back to you. But Arrowhead would not be able to partner. But what I'm thinking is if there's someone in the engineering department, we have energy programming throughout the university. Let me just see if that would be something we could do as well. But definitely reach out to those academic institutions. I think that's a great way to do some partnering. Okay, I'm going to move on here. I can advance this slide. This is kind of an overview. It's a little boring of the reviewing and scoring process, but what I wanted to point out here is that it is going to be a panel. And I know we've had some folks on the call who have been through something similar with these prizes before, that you'll have, subject matter experts, reviewers from across disciplines. You'll have business, you'll have technical, academia, industry. It'll be a great panel of judges, and they will be scoring those submissions. And the scoring rubric is basically 1 to 6, and that rubric is laid out in those prize guidelines. So the one thing to keep in mind here, though, is that the prize administration team will be, reviewing these scores, but the DOE is the final say. So the Department of Energy makes the final say based on those recommendations. That's just something to keep in mind. But as I said, the scoring process and the rules are laid out in the document on the HeroX page of those, the rules packet, and we'll also be going into some scoring rubric and checklists in our application workshop as we move forward, and that once again is on May 4th. This is really for your reference. Once this is sent out to you, that link works. So if you want to register, go ahead. And this is just a little step-by-step guideline. I have to give credit to American Made Challenges. They created this awesome graphic and I lifted it. So thank you for that. But you do have to register and go through the process to be eligible for the prize. And they are running this contest through the HeroX platform. If you go to that platform, you'll also find similar prizes within mechanisms of the way they're funded, not just with the the Energizing Rural Communities Prize, but there's lots of opportunities there. So if you are interested in solving some of the challenges we're facing, be sure to find that. And I may have to mute because I am with my dogs and someone's going to walk in the door. So. And Melissa, this is a great time for you to tell us, let's introduce Arrowhead, and then we have some other power connectors on the line that will have an opportunity as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction to ERC, or the Energizing Rural Communities Prize, Kathy. So we've mentioned Arrowhead a few times, but I just wanted to give you all a little bit of information on what Arrowhead is, what it does, and then also we're going to dive into very briefly what power connectors are doing for this effort. So Arrowhead Center is housed at New Mexico State University down in Las Cruces. New Mexico State University is a land grant university for the state of New Mexico. And since they are the land grant university, we service all communities in the state of New Mexico, meaning that we get to work with many different kinds of entrepreneurs, small businesses, and innovators across the whole state. And the mission for Arrowhead Center is to create economic opportunity in the region through innovation and entrepreneurship. And we do this through many different programming and resources. So we provide training, and we provide assistance. We have availability to physical space if small businesses need it. We have different commercialization assistance, and then we host different programs, accelerators, incubators all the time for all different kinds of businesses. Some cool features about programming here at Arrowhead is that we help small businesses regardless of the stage of your technology and regardless of your technology type. So even if your innovation isn't what someone would consider high tech, we still have services to support you and connect you to resources to take your development further. We also customize assistance for each small business. So depending on what the small business needs, we will adjust and we will create programs for you. And we have a large focus on underserved populations, which when we got called to be power connectors for the ERC opportunity. That was really exciting for us. Next slide. And so I mentioned that Arrowhead Center is housed at NMSU and that we provide support for small businesses across the state of New Mexico. We do have opportunities to support small businesses across the country, but those small businesses would have to be involved in clean energy or clean tech. So we have an additional program here at Arrowhead called the New Mexico Clean Energy Resilience and Growth Cluster, or NMSurge. And there we help small businesses go through a pipeline of support to further develop their products. We have multiple partners within the state, including the 2 national labs. And here we are able to work with small businesses anywhere, and we are able to leverage other resources that we have at Arrowhead Center if you are a member of Surge. Programming within Surge, one back. So programming within Surge focuses on many different aspects of developing a small business, but here are just a few highlights. So we help small businesses navigate the SBIR and STTR ecosystem. SBIR is the Small Business Innovative Research Program, and STTR is the Small Business Technology Transfer Program. And obviously, since it is clean energy, we partner mostly or focus largely on Department of Energy, but we also can provide support through our federal and state technology partnership program to help small businesses explore all agencies participating in SBIR. So if you have a small, if your technology can fit DOE, we can also help you explore its fit with NSF, USDA, Department of Transportation, Department of Defense, the full range of agencies that participate in it. Additionally, Surge provides tech bidding, so we can help small businesses get connected to the national labs. We have Sandia Labs and Los Alamos National Laboratories here in New Mexico. We also help small businesses with prototyping and branding assistance. And then we also have investment and IP preparation courses. And if any of that sounds interesting to you or sounds like a good fit, we have a link down there for our application. We accept folks on a rolling basis. Next slide. Okay, so what is our role as a power connector here? Just very briefly, so Arrowhead Center, because we are within the land grant university within the state of New Mexico, we have a large reach within the state of New Mexico. We can reach many communities, we can reach many different entrepreneurs, many different small businesses. And at the same time, we also have connection to federal investment opportunities, federal funding opportunities. So what we do, or what power connectors do, is we hear what is available from the federal funding or federal funding opportunities, and we connect with small businesses, communities that may benefit from that funding, or that may be a match for those funding opportunities. With Arrowhead Center, we help with proposal preparation, more like review, development. We have workshops for it. We help small businesses adopt best practices for proposal writing. And then Kathy will take it away of how we are working as a power connector here, and what other power connectors are doing as well.
Thank you, Melissa. That was great. And I just want to pause in case anyone had questions come up during your very informative presentation on NMSurge. It's a program we're very proud of among the many programs we have here at Arrowhead. So just wanted to pause for questions. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we did have a question coming, Kathy.
Okay.
They're asking, if you don't win the prize in phase 1, does it penalize your company with future DOE funding?
I would love it, Melissa. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but I think you offer a great insight into what it means to really interact with these federal funding agencies. Would you mind taking that question?
Yeah, not a problem. So a lot of these awards are phased. So if you are interested, for example, in ERC, and you're interested in going after phase 2, you do have to have that phase 1 award granted to you before you're able to apply for phase 2. But working with different agencies and exploring different agency funding, you are not penalized from going after one one source of funding and then jumping to another, especially in the small business ecosystem. These federal agencies, they know that you are growing your small business and you are going to go after opportunity in many different corners. Sometimes what can happen is you submit here and there isn't a perfect match. But if you have a really strong proposal and you have a good impression on the program manager, many times they can reach out to you again and say, hey, there wasn't a perfect match here, but there may be a match with this initiative. Also know that the federal agencies, they have initiatives that drive where they can spend money, and they want to make sure that they reach those initiatives or their goals. So if right now it isn't something that matches directly with your small business, that is okay. Next time around, their initiatives may slightly change and that may better align with your small business. Many times folks apply to businesses many times, and then all that matters is getting that one that counts, and then we move our products forward.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Melissa does a fantastic job because that is, I understand a concern, especially as she is program manager of the FAFSA Federal and State Technology Program Partnership, that it is, hearing the no once doesn't mean that you don't have an opportunity later on. So thank you for that question. I think it's a very important question. Before we move on, is there anything else that in the chat, or does anyone have a question that they could come off mute and ask?
We did have another one in the chat.
Okay.
They're asking, can we change our submitted plan?
That is, I saw that in the chat. That's a great question. I'm not sure once it's submitted. I'd have to actually ask the prize administrators. I was looking through the frequently asked questions on the HeroX platform. I don't know if one of our power connectors has the answer. Please feel free to put it in chat or take yourself off mute if you've found anything out about changing plan once it's been submitted. Okay, so we will ask, we'll ask that question. We can also put it on the frequently asked questions page to get an answer there. But thank you for that question, and we'll get the answer to you and be sure to let you know what we hear. As Melissa was talking about our what Arrowhead does, throughout our operations. We do have some special ways we are helping connect folks with this prize. Taking a look at the partnering track, Arrowhead does have extensive existing partnerships. You saw on the other slide, we have really great working relationships with the national laboratories located within New Mexico, with the institutions of higher education, the community colleges, the research institutions, those academic institutions. We have contacts there as well, where we can really try to do some matchmaking. With our work with Surge, we also work very closely with our economic development department. And if you are looking to really interact with communities in New Mexico, there are regional representatives that are located throughout the state that we can put you in touch with. We've also been talking with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, their Rural Partnerships Program. That has been a great resource for us as well. And just the way we've been providing outreach to the state, we are happy to, take that further. We also have some regional partners we work with. We have a few grants where we're working with some Mountain West states. This San Diego National Laboratories Boost Project is working with communities in Alaska. So we are happy to do some connecting there if possible. With the finance track, we have a very robust innovation network. So we would be able to do some matchmaking with some rural community access or partnerships to some entrepreneurs, investors, economic development specialists, industry partners. That is a little more curated, but feel free to reach out to us. So we would be happy to provide more information. And then, as we talked about, Surge is a great pipeline model that would also help us reach out to rural communities or the partnerships that we have developed through that as well. Lynn, I believe if you're on, if you'd like to, you could take yourself off mute. I have to thank the Clean Energy Business Network for supplying this slide, and I'd like for you to hear it from the actual power connectors at CEBN. So Lynn, if you're there, and I don't have my participant list
I'm
up, but
here,
if you'd like,
Kathy.
oh yay, okay, yes,
Great.
perfect. Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and for putting on this great presentation. So the Clean Energy Business Network is one of the power connectors that's helping to support this prize, and we're collaborating very closely with NMSU and the other power connectors. Our organization is a nationwide nonprofit that's headquartered in Washington, D.C., and we serve as the small business voice for the clean energy economy. So we work very closely with more than 8,500 small business leaders, as well as community leaders nationwide across a very broad spectrum of clean energy technologies. We have served as a power connector since 2020. And so we have a lot of insights into the typical structure and goals of these prizes. So we are happy to help applicants. We're offering office hours, and you can see the QR code to sign up for those in the upper right corner of this screen. So we can brainstorm with you, give you some reactions to your proposal, ideas for potential connections. We're also happy to look through application materials and give you some feedback. Again, we're not one of the administrators of the prize. We don't have decision-making authority, so this would just be our own kind of objective feedback. And in addition, I just wanted to flag that we also have a free US clean tech funding database, which is a repository of federal, state, private sector, and other funding resources for clean energy. And so you can see the QR code for that. And we are featuring materials such as funding from the DOE and USDA for rural communities. So I definitely urge you to check that out and learn more. And I've also provided our email address, and you can follow up with any questions.
Thank you, Lynn. I had a few things open here. So I couldn't find my unmute, but CEBN, we worked with them in the past. This is a great resource, and yes, and I loved your disclaimer, Lynn. Although we are power connectors, we are not the prize administrators, but we will try to provide feedback and assistance based on the experience we have working in this area, especially as we work with rural communities and clean energy projects. So thank you for mentioning that. Next, I'd like to introduce the Entrepreneur Futures Network. Cassie is here, and Cassie, you all have a great platform. I was hoping maybe you could talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. So I'm Cassie Corvos. I'm the engagement director with Entrepreneur Futures Network, another power connector. So again, we all are very collaborative here. We wanted to share, I can share two things. One is we also are running some office hours. They'll be very similar. So really just providing additional times. If you're wondering which one to go to, we're just trying to accommodate as many schedules as possible. So I'll post that link in the chat shortly. And then also wanted to share that we have the Empower Innovation Network, which is a platform and guide to help you access other funding opportunities, potential partners for both this prize as well as other American-made prizes, other projects that you find completely separate as well. So I'll post the link to that platform as well, but we do have this specific feature involved that will help you find a partner to specifically go in on. So we have kind of the steps here, but essentially you're able to search for various funding opportunities. You can fill out a short form. It doesn't have to have a lot of information, just briefly what you're looking for. And then it'll give you access to kind of what you can see here on this interested organizations list, where anyone who has filled out that form saying that they would like to partner on this prize, it's going to list that information there. So it's really going to speed along that process. If you're looking to partner with someone, you're not sure who's there. What I always encourage people to do is if you go to this site, and I'll post the link shortly, and you don't immediately see someone you want to partner with, well, then take the initiative to post yourself, because it could be that there's a few people doing the same thing where they're looking for a partner. Really encourage you to take advantage of this. In addition to, utilizing the HeroX platform to also post in the forum, or also post that you're looking for a partner, the more places that you can put out there what you're looking for, as well as coming to as many office hours to meet people is really ultimately going to benefit you. So that's a little bit of it. I will share the link for Empower Innovation, the office hours, as well as my email address if you have any other information.
Thank you, Cassie. We have to give her a round of applause. I put her on the spot. I saw her name. So that was fantastic. And this should also link when you get the PDF, you'll be able to access this as well. But we really appreciate information being dropped in the chat. And that was a perfect segue, because the next connecting, device I was going to introduce was that HeroX platform. So if you have not registered yet, or really, taken the opportunity to look at this prize, this is a great place to find a lot of information. Not only do they have the guidelines and the rules, they have timelines, they have a forum, they have reminders, they have access to all of the webinars and the slide decks and the office hours, all these resources that are supporting this prize. So the forum tab is where I've been seeing people, and I grabbed a screenshot here. I love this, that we had some folks looking for opportunities in Virginia. I love the prompt here. If you have something or you have questions, in that state, put them here. And so as you see, there's some replies. It's great to see folks using that forum tag to build up some partnerships, because you also have the EFN network, as Cassie talked about as well. And I really liked how you said, the more places you're posting opportunities for partnership and, partnership with the finance track or the partnering track, the better it can be for these prize outcomes. And then if you click here to the, I'm not going to click anything through because it always doesn't work when I try to do this in Zoom, but that Teams tab lists all the teams participating. And there is an option to contact the teams directly and say, introduce yourself and ask if they're looking for a team member. It's another way to use the partnering features in HeroX to make sure that we are putting forth the best applications possible. And I just wanted to talk about some partnering documents real quick. And this is a little more focused on that partnering track, but as we talked about the evidence piece and knowing that maybe some of these phase 1 applications have an idea of partnering, but what would really strengthen that partnership is a letter of commitment. And I do on the next slide have some best practices on that. So I thought that could be a tool, and this is even great if you're working in the finance track as well, to really show that evidence there in the partnering and finance tracks. But I don't know if everyone here has worked with this before, but when you're requesting a letter of commitment, it's a good idea to provide a template of some of the information. So the person who are you making the request to, it's not as burdensome as creating a letter from scratch. We all know that can be cause anxiety sometimes, but also especially if you're working with a research institution or a larger institution, you will have to allow time for some of that internal approval processes. So if you are thinking of communities or entities you'd like to partner with, think about getting this started sooner than later, especially if you're using it for that evidence of partnering or a project plan for the finance track. Another very strong case for interaction between entities is a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU. This is a little bit more formal process that may involve some not just between the requester and the applicant. There may be a third party involved to help make sure that the wording is correct. Same with contracts and funding agreements. Those are just some of the documents that you'd want to think about interacting with the communities or with the entities you would like to work with on this prize. When you're asking for letters of commitment, these are some of the bullet points that you'll want to include in the letter, especially if you're writing a template for the entity you're working with. This is a great way for you to get to know each other and to provide, through discussion, really point out how you can make a very strong letter of commitment. And through the application, you'll notice letter of commitment, where you may have some experience with letter of support, but a letter of commitment here is showing the kind of give and take here, especially, you know, if you're asking for a commitment to use, you know, some funding in kind support, maybe there's some technical assistance you're looking for, or use of space. This, like I said, is just an overview, but it's something you might want to be thinking about if you haven't yet. This will be also, we'll have templates created for our May 4th application workshop that would be a very generalized for you to customize and for your partners to customize, both for the partnering and finance track as well. Additional resources, and you can find this on the HeroX platform. I think I've said it about 50 times. We are having our application workshop, and we do this quite often, especially with small companies. We, as Melissa talked about with the NM Fast program, we have a history of providing SBIR, STTR support in a setting like this. This is not that type of grant, but we want to, show some of the best practices. We've applied for some of these prizes in the past ourselves, and as a Power Connector, we'd like to be able to offer you some best practices. And we are not the prize administrators. This is not a guarantee, but we want to be able to help you create a strong proposal. And maybe you have questions, and we'll have another tool that we are finalizing. It's a compliance matrix that will take some of that rubric information and create a checklist and confirmation that you are fulfilling all of the requirements of this prize. We have some great graduate students and interns helping us. As we are an academic institution, it is our mission to involve students as well. So we are working with the students on this tool and excited to get that out for you. So as we found out from CEBN and EFN, there are office hours that are taking place from now until May. There are slots available. I believe that they have been entered in the chat, but they're also hyperlinked here on our slide deck. Whew, okay, with that, we're a little early, but you all are a good group and so smart that you didn't have questions. But now we welcome your questions, and I would encourage the Power Connectors, if you have time and like to stay on and participate, you're welcome as well. And just a little plug for my colleague Melissa. She is fantastic with advice and best practices on application and support. And so we're happy to take any questions. We can either drop them in chat, or you can take yourself off mute.
Yeah, Kathy, just to go over some questions from the chat from earlier.
Great.
We have one. If you win the partnership prize in the first round, could you then apply for the finance prize in the second round?
No, from what I understand, that you would be eligible for each track. So if you are applying for the partnership prize, that is what you'll apply to in phase 2. So you'll have to stay on scope there.
And then another one, our company has patented the clean energy technologies we have developed. Would they still be valid and be protected in the prize competition?
Yes, my advice though is to not include confidential information. Some of this will be made public. There is those specifics are listed out in the prize guideline and the HeroX website. I believe that the summary slide will be public and the video might be. So my advice, and I am not a lawyer, but best practices, do not disclose any of that information. Keep all of that as non-confidential as you can. And if you do have questions on that, I would definitely talk to your USPTO, or if you are interacting with any type of counsel to help you with that. But I would, as a best practice, and some of the experiences we've seen before, is keep everything non-confidential. So do not disclose anything. Melissa, do you have anything to add to that?
No, but just refer back to the rules. They have like nice tables in there that show what will be public facing. So just always making sure when anything is public facing, not to include any proprietary information there. I did a quick search of if there's any mention of like any patent protections, and I didn't see anything right away. But again, just a good rule of thumb, don't include any proprietary information on anything public facing.
And the only thing, this is Lynn, I would add is, generally speaking, for the most part, these prizes are not requiring you to give up any of your IP. But to these recommendations, I would not disclose anything that's protected. And I would also say that this application in particular is really looking for the community engagement strategy. So I don't think you need to get incredibly technical on any technology solutions you're using. The only thing I would say too, though, is depends on what partners you're bringing in. So if you do bring in like a national lab partner, there may be specific requirements with respect to IP sharing with that entity, but that has nothing to do with the actual application. It's tied to the particular entity.
That's a great point, Lynn. Yes. So yeah, if you are partnering with different entities, there are intellectual property agreements that would have to be figured out beforehand, but that would be between you and the organization you're working with. But I love what Lynn said. This is really trying to identify what could help, just catalyze some of the energy solutions that rural communities are looking for. Any other questions on the chat?
Not in the chat, but
Okay.
Sean Hart, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Hey guys. Hey everybody. Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to, if I could, just kind of maybe bounce off of you guys an overview about what we're looking at in our area, region, and just make sure we're at least on track. I feel like we are. Just wanted to kind of maybe get some feedback. And so, yeah, if I can do it briefly, what we're doing, we're in Southwest Colorado, and we already have a pretty strong partnership network between a variety of communities, small municipalities, counties, and then our rural electric cooperative supplier. And so what it looks like is, you can imagine like our rural co-op provider has got their network of power lines going to all these couple of variety, like 6 small different communities, right? And so, I mean, regionally, each one of these, you could pick 4 or 5 of these towns, and it would still be less than 10,000 people. And the thing I'm wondering is, it's a variety pack of initiatives that we're working on. Like we've got 2 microgrid grant, or we got 4 microgrid grants out to the state of Colorado. We have people that are trying to use local geothermal resources. We've got like, microgrids and on affordable housing, or attached affordable housing to, try to make their energy burden less. We've got some Justice 40 tracks in our region that we're looking at. So, I mean, like it says, like one of the things in the rules is like, have your zip code. Well, we're going to have 3 or 4 different zip codes on our application, right? But are we still kind of within that range of we're definitely rural, we're definitely community engaged, we're definitely community benefit. But it's a multiple, like, I guess the thing about how we would use the prize we're like a third of the way there on creating a replicable partnership model in a rural area to develop renewable energy, right? So would use this funding to kind of get us to the finish line on, creating a viable replicable model. So in my mind, that's what it looks like. Does that make sense to you guys? Is that 100% on target, or? That's my question.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And hello, neighbor. We're talking to you from New Mexico here. We, when I was going over the prize rules, and I have to say, everyone, and Melissa and I talk about it when we are doing our proposal workshops, always refer to the rule book. You kind of have to really have that in your hand at all times when you're working on this. I did see a piece that, really to focus on a community that could show, replicable activity later. So I understand that you have several zip codes, and that should be okay but the duplication, you just would have to be careful. And I would, when you think about the prize money and the activity, really think about that scope, because you want to make sure you can do the work you're proposing within the time frame and within the prize. So that's always something that we kind of, gives a cause for concern, is to really talk with your team and make sure that is, possible with what is being offered here. That's kind of my 2 cents. So it sounds like there's really some activity going on there that is great for this prize, but you might just really want to make sure you're talking with your team and the community or communities you're partnering with to make sure that this can be done within the time frame and the award. And I encourage you to take advantage of the office hours or reach out to us at Arrowhead to, if you have some pivots or some changes, we'd all be happy to talk with you as well. Okay, I am Matthew and Melissa. I'm kind of leaning on you all to see if there's anyone with their hands raised or anything happening in the chat.
We did have one question in the chat. They're just looking for some clarification on the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. And they're specifically asking, is phase 1 just putting together the plan and phase 2 executing that plan? Or are they 2 different work plans?
No, it would be exactly what you said. The first phase is really talking about what you're going to do. You can even start to execute the plan, but that bigger prize will go to make sure that it comes to fruition. So you're going to be, kind of scored on the traction you're making during phase 1, especially when you're creating that phase 2 plan. But there may be a pivot or 2, but really what you want to do is have a strong phase 1 proposal and something that can be carried out in phase 2 with that larger pool of funding that's up to $250,000. Power connectors, if you have any other, guidance on that, we'd love to hear it too.
I thought that was a great explanation. I think just knowing that the prize is based on your implementation. But at this point, I've been telling most people to just, focus on phase 1. I would say, there's also a lot of different new information will come out for phase 2 in terms of support that's provided. Power connectors do a lot of additional workshops and webinars to support with that second phase.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Awesome. Any final questions?
Well, the Arrowhead team will be staying on for a little longer. So if you think of something, feel free to interact with us. We'd like to thank everyone once again for their time, their interest, all of the great questions and the interactions. We will be following this up with the actual PDF of this presentation and a lot of the resources we've talked about as well. And like I said, there are great ways to really make sure you can get your application ready for something that can make a difference with the power connectors here and with the prize itself. So we wish you all the best of luck and don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions later on. Thank you so much, everyone.